Joan, will you begin by singing Bim Bam? We don't have the words, but they're easy enough to pick up.
I think you can figure them out, right? Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom.
So I can't tell if there's anyone new to our service, but I'm Rabba Arlene Berger, and that lovely voice belongs to our cantoral soloist Joan Wolf. And thank you for joining us for Kabbalat Shabbat services. We will now turn to page 84 in our Sidurim as we sing Shalom Aleichem and welcome the Shabbat angels.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitechem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We turn back in our books toward the beginning to page 39 for Lechuna Ranana, and Jean will read the English of this prayer after Joan sings the first line.
Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena ladonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena ladonai.
Come, let us sing to the Eternal One. Let our song ring out to the sheltering rock. Let us come before God with thanksgiving, our voices loud with song. For great are you, Eternal One, high above the gods that are worshipped. In your hands are the depths of the earth. Yours are the mountain peaks. You made the sea, it is yours. The dry land is the work of your hands. You are our God and our shepherd. We are your people and your flock. If only today we would listen to your voice.
Thank you. We'll turn to page 46 for Lechadodi as we welcome the Shabbat Kala, the Shabbat bride.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabala, la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabala. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. לשם ולתפארת לכי לה 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 לה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, לה 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 לה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לה 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 לה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, לה 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 לה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We'll continue on the bottom of page 47 with Tzadika Tamar and in the Hebrew, and then Susan Stromberg, you'll read the English for us on the bottom of page 48. So we're on 47 at the bottom.
Tzadika Tamar יפרח כארז בלבנן יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינועו בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני, צורי ולא עוולתה בו.
The Eternal One is enthroned, robed in grandeur. The Eternal One is robed, girded with strength. The one who founded the solid earth to be unmoving. Ageless is your throne, endless your being. The oceans cry out, eternal God. The oceans cry out in their cry out their thunder. The oceans rage in their fury, but greater than the thunder of the torrents. Mightier than the breakers of the sea is the majesty of God on high. Your law stands firm, and in your temple, O eternal God, holiness abides to the end of time.
Thank you. We will turn to this face page here, the same page, page 49, for the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו Amen.
We turn now to the next page, page 50 for the Baruch Hu, and Joan will lead the Baruch Hu. And Poppy, would you be willing to read the English on the bottom of page 50?
I don't have the book.
Oh, okay. Okay, then Lisa? Sure, okay, thanks. Okay, so Baruch Hu at the top of page 50.
Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Lie, 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 lie.
Okay, Lisa?
We praise you, eternal God. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening. With wisdom, you open heaven's gates, and with understanding, you make the ages pass and the seasons alternate. Your will controls the stars as they travel through the skies. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You cause day to pass and bring on the night, separating day from night. You command the hosts of heaven. May the living and eternal God rule us always to the end.
Sorry, Lisa, I muted you by accident.
Okay, would you like me to start somewhere or no? I'm done. Or no?
I think we're okay. I
Okay.
apologize though.
No problem. That's fine.
Baruch atah Adonai hama'ari v'aravim. Ahavat olam, the top of page 51. God loves us with an eternal love.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta. Torah umitzvot, chukim umishpatim, otanu lemadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochbenu uvkumenu, nasiach b'chukecha. ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה.
ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, Ohev Amo Yisrael. And we continue with the Shema on the bottom of page 51.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kibud Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Page 52, the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlachtecha v'derech ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Michael, would you be willing to read at the bottom of page 52, the you shall love your eternal God? Thank you.
Okay, got to unmute. You shall love your eternal God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your being. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be symbols before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them, so shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I am your eternal God, who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your eternal God.
Thank you. So we're now on page 53, at the bottom. When your children witnessed your power, they extolled you and gave you thanks. Willingly they enthroned you, and full of joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang this song.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, ose fele. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה, זה אלי. אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
Thank you. Marie, would you read the English in the middle of page 54, the next page, starting with Who is Like You?
Who is like you, Eternal One, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, doing wonders? In their escape from the sea, your children saw your sovereign might displayed. This is my God, they cried. The Eternal will reign forever and ever. And it has been said, the Eternal One delivered Jacob and redeemed us from the hand of one stronger than ourselves. We praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel.
Thank you. We're now at the bottom of page 54 with Hashkivenu. And when Joan is done singing, after Joan has sung Hashkivenu, Bob, would you read at the top of page 55? But after Joan sings the Hashkivenu.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים, השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים.
Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war and famine and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of our wings. O God, our coming and our going, now and always we have life and peace. We praise you, O God, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all of your people, Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Thank you. Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת excuse me, וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Thank you. Harriet, would you read the translation of Vishamru there on the bottom of page 55?
The people of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, observing the Sabbath in every generation as a covenant for all time. It is a sign forever between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days the Eternal One made heaven and earth, but on the 7th day God rested and was refreshed.
Thank you. So we turn now to page 56 for the Tefillah, and this service, as I say every time we're about to sing it, is well, it's a lot of things. It's a public service and a private service all at once. It's a time where we can speak to God both with words that have been set down by the rabbis thousands of years ago, but also with our own personal words from our hearts. And it's a time where we remind not just ourselves, but also God, that just as God had individual and very different relationships with each of our ancestors, so too can we have that kind of relationship with God, if only we seek it. And in the Ashrei, Psalm 145, it says, God is near to all who, God is near to all who are near to God, to all who come close to God in earnestness. So it's really, if God's hanging out around us all the time, and we ignore that or we forget that often. But all we need to do is open up a place for God to enter, and then God will be there for us if we so desire. And the Amidah sort of codifies that. So I will chant these first these paragraphs on page 56 and 57. Feel free to read along with me or just to speak privately to God in that time. And then we'll have, a couple minutes just for some more private talk, and we'll join back together um, for the Modim, which is on page 61, but I'll let you know at that time. So the Amidah, page 56. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah v'Elohei Rachel Ha'el HaGadol HaGibur v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei HaKol v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imot U'Mevii Gula Livnei Bneihem Leman Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechaye Hakol Atah Rav Lehoshia Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim Umatir Asurim ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. We'll now have a few minutes of silent prayer, and I will call us back together soon. We will pick up together on page 61, the prayer Modim, which is a prayer of thanks. If you're still praying, please continue to do so. If not, either listen to Joan singing, or as Joan is singing this prayer, you can read the English to get a sense of the gratefulness that the prayer suggests. And if you do read Hebrew and you notice that the words are slightly different than what Joan is singing, both this Modim and the Ritzeh, which Joan has done on other weeks, are choral versions that one sings in a choir. So the words are a little different in the choral version than they are in the actual prayers. So if you notice some word changes, that's why. Joan?
Modim anachnu lach. She'atahu Adonai, She'atahu Adonai, Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Le'olam, Le'olam, Va'ed, Tzur Chayenu, Magen Ishenu, Atahu, Ledor, Vador, Atahu, Ledor, ודור. נודה לך ונספר תחילתך על חיינו המסורים בידיך. חיינו המסורים בידיך. נשמותינו פקודות לך. לא חלו רחמך, לא תמו חסדיך, מעולם קיווינו לך. מעולם קיווינו לך.
We continue on page 63 with our Song of Peace, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
We'll turn now to page 64 and Irv or Claudia, you can choose which one of you. Would you read that top paragraph on the top of page 64?
O God, keep my tongue from evil and my lips from deceit. Help me to be silent in the face of derision, humble in the presence of all. Open my heart to your Torah, that I may hasten to do your mitzvot. Save me with your power. In time of trouble, be my answer, that those who love you may rejoice.
And the next lines too, may the words.
Go ahead.
Okay. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Any more?
Thank you.
Okay.
And now Joan will lead us in Oseh Shalom.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
May the one who ordains peace on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. And let us say, Amen. Okay, it's time for a few words of Torah. So you can sit back and relax. This week's Torah portion is Parshat Truma. Truma is an offering or a gift, in this case to the temple. And I call this talk the origin of the gift registry. So has anyone here had a gift registry, maybe from when they got married, or one of their children are getting married, or for babies? I don't see many nods. Oh, good, because otherwise this was a very unusual group. So, so think about the kinds of things that you might have on a gift registry that we don't need to share them, and think about that as we go along. So I said this week's Torah portion is Truma, and it's almost right in the middle of the book of Exodus. It begins in chapter 25 and goes for about 2.5 chapters. And it begins, "And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the people of Israel, that they bring me an offering." And that's the Truma, the offering. Now, that's the first part of the verse, but right after that comes a part that has long intrigued me. The verse continues, "From every man that gives it willingly with his heart, you shall take my offering." Okay, so God is saying, speak to the people of Israel that they bring me an offering from every man or person, but back then it was really every man that gives it willingly with his heart, you shall take my offering. Now, what does that mean? Gives it willingly with his heart. Is this a commandment from God to give God a gift, or is this a suggestion? And in other words, if a man feels like it, then he should give a gift. Well, we already know there aren't a lot of suggestions in the Torah. So, and then the Parsha continues with what I eventually decided is the first gift registry. And I'm going to try to share this. I don't always have success on Zoom sharing, so let's see if it'll work. Yeah, no. There it is. Can you see a paragraph of words? Yeah? Okay. So I wanted to put this up here so you could see the words as I'm reading them, and think about if any gift registry that you ever purchased from or set up yourself contained any of these items. And this is the offering which you shall take from them. So these are the gifts that should be given, in other words. Gold and silver and bronze and blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen and goat's hair and ram skins dyed red and goat's skins and shittim wood, oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil and for sweet incense, onyx stones, and stones to be set on the ephod and on the breastplate. Now the ephod was a sleeveless linen garment worn by the priests, and the breastplate in Hebrew and Yiddish was known as the choshen, which you might see pictures of. It was like this heavy metal or gold plate that the high priests wore around their neck as like a necklace, and there were 12 stones on it, one for each of the 12 tribes. So I don't know about you, but there might have been gold or silver, maybe even bronze on the occasional wedding registry, maybe candlesticks or, well, sterling silver cutlery perhaps. But I've never been on used a gift registry that requested ram skins dyed red or goat skins, or anything about goats or rams, or incense, though maybe some people have. But that's why I like to think of this as the first gift registry, because God says, have them give me an offering or a gift. And this is what they should give. Not Irv. Eugene, did you want to say something?
Out of all the items that are listed in that list, there's not one of them that are for Hashem. Every one of them is for something that the priests would wear or would be used in the temple. So it's not a gift directly.
Yeah, I'm gonna so I'm gonna stop you for a moment, and I'm gonna read the next paragraph or two that tells you about what they're for, and then tell me if that changes what you're thinking when I'm done. Okay. So if God were to command that the people give gifts, these specific gifts, and someone didn't have the item or enough of the item, then it would be as if they were disobeying God's command, right? Because if God says, give gold and silver and bronze, and then all sorts of threads and linens and all sorts of things, and if you didn't have them, because this is a command, you would be disobeying a command. And that's not a situation any of us want to find ourselves in. But perhaps because it said in the very beginning that these gifts should be given willingly from a person's heart, then this might signify something like the equivalent of the modern sliding scale, right? Each should give from the heart according to their desire and ability. And we actually see this, we'll see it a lot in the next book of Torah in Leviticus, where it talks a lot more about the sacrifices. And we'll see that for many of the sacrifices, there is in fact kind of a sliding scale. You know, God will list the ideal of what should be brought. 2 rams and, you know, X amount of grain, like, you know, all these different things. And then it'll say, but if you don't have that, you can bring this. And if you don't have that, you can bring this, until it ends up at the end with either just some grain or maybe a pigeon. So even from the very rich to the poorest person can participate in bringing the sacrifices. And this is one of the first times that we see that. Now, as Jean was hinting at, let's talk about the purpose of these gifts. There's a verse in this Torah portion that says, "Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them." And that is, in fact, the Mishkan, or the portable tabernacle or sanctuary. And is that where you were going, Jean? Oh, wait a minute, you're muted. Yeah.
It's exactly where I was going. Then that was for the high priest and the who are to glorify God, but not directly to God. So it was to help in establishing the rituals in which God can be worshipped, but not directly to God.
True, in that, yes, we definitely don't give a gift directly to God in this case.
There
But
were
well,
burnt offerings, okay, and offerings that were like that, okay. But those were the only ones that I can remember that were given directly to God.
so then what is the purpose of the Mishkan, or the tabernacle? Anyone have any thoughts on that? Our people were walking through the desert. I can't imagine they were in the best, the most physically fit and best shape of their lives. And yet they were going to build this tabernacle and they were going to carry it.
But the Ark of the Covenant had to be there, had to be in some place. So it was put into the tabernacle, Couldn't be left out in the, out under the rain, or if there was any rain, okay? Couldn't be out in the baking sun. So it had to be covered. So you had to build the tabernacle, whether it be portable or otherwise.
Right. So that's certainly one of the reasons for the tabernacle. And we know that the original 10 commandments, remember when Moses brought down 2 sets of 10 commandments. The first set Moses broke when he saw that the people were frolicking by the golden calf. And then the second set was he went back up on the mountain and God had him write a second set. So both of those sets of 10 commandments, we're told, were stored in the ark, along with 1 or 2 other things. But I think the key of the other purpose of the ark, besides storing things or being used as a way to worship God is in the verse that I just read, which is actually chapter 25, verse 8. So we're still like right at the beginning of this Torah portion. There's 2.5 chapters, and we're just in the first 8 lines here. Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. The Mishkan, the tabernacle, as the temple later will be, is God's home. The Mishkan will be a material reminder that God's presence dwells among God's people. And, you would think that given the experience of the Exodus and the revelation at Sinai, that the people wouldn't necessarily need some kind of physical, material reminder of God's presence. They should know that God was among them because of everything that God had done and was continuing to do for them. But they, like us, are only human. And therefore, sometimes we forget emotionally that which we know intellectually. And so the Mishkan was this very tangible reminder that God would dwell amongst us and that God would be amongst us. When we see the Mishkan, we would know this until we got into the land of Israel and eventually could build a temple in Jerusalem. So that is that's just one part of this week's Torah portion, but it's one that I really like. This idea that God, we're anthropomorphizing God, right? We're like turning God into a human with human feelings. But let's make pretend God has feelings, because maybe God does, we don't know. God feels like God needs a home. Almost like, do they still call them mother-in-law apartments? When you would build an apartment onto a house and a family member would come to visit, and they'd have like this designated place, the space that was just for them. And when you would walk by the house, around in your house, and you'd walk by that room or that apartment adjacent to your home, you wouldn't be using it for anything else except for them. That's kind of like what the Mishkan was. And I've never before equated the tabernacle to a mother-in-law apartment, but I think it sort of fits at this moment. Just it's a dedicated space. And it does remind us that, we're supposed to act according to God's attributes, love and mercy and kindness and being slow to anger and all those things. So why not this idea of needing a place to lay our heads, our metaphorical heads, or needing something material that will remind other people of our existence so they don't forget us. To me, this section is one of those that makes me feel closer to God in terms of God's humanity and how we are more similar to God than we might be different. Now, this month is the month of Adar 1. This week was Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the month. And, in a leap year, which this is a Jewish leap year, we have 2 months of Adar. We don't just add a day at the end of a month like we do in the secular calendar with an extra day in February, but we add an entire month. And that's because the holiday of Passover, Chag HaAviv, the holiday of the spring, has to be in the spring. And since we have a lunar calendar, if we don't add this whole month in, then our calendar just kind of goes along, and our holidays move. Sometimes they might be in the spring, sometimes they might be in the summer. Our holidays drift. And we see that with the Islamic calendar, right? Are you familiar? I think most of us are familiar with the holiday of Ramadan, which is a month of days where the Muslims will fast all day and eat in the evening. And the thing with Ramadan is that it drifts throughout the year. So some years it's in the summer, which make it very difficult because it can be in July and August where we have some of the longest days of the year. And then other years it might be in winter when the days are shorter, or in the spring. But it was determined by the rabbis that that could not happen with our calendar because Passover has 4 names in the Torah, and one of them is the holiday of the spring. And if it's called the holiday of the spring, then it has to be in the spring. So our whole calendar system was set up to make sure that Passover is in the spring. And by doing that, and to do that, we add in a whole extra month, and we do it before the month before Purim. So Purim is in Adar, and when we add a month, Purim is in the second month of Adar, in Adar 2. Now, I don't know if anyone here has a yurtzeit in either of the months of Adar, Adar 1 or Adar 2, but it does get confusing for those who do. When do you say Kaddish? When do you observe the yurtzeit? Now, my family just happened to oblige me in my teachings because my aunt and my dad, may their souls and memories be a blessing. My aunt died in Adar 1, and then my father died in Adar 2. So when it's not a leap year, I say their Kaddish both in the same month, just 5 days apart from each other, 4 days apart. But in a year like this, when we have both months, tonight I'll be saying Kaddish for my aunt because her yurtzeit is in a few days. And then next month I'll say Kaddish for my dad because his yurtzeit is a few days before Purim. Now there's an argument, a machloket, which is an argument for the sake of heaven, meaning you're not arguing to insist you're right or wrong, but you're arguing for a point to make lives better and to honor God. And the argument always is, well, when do you say Kaddish? Which month? Some people say that you need to say Kaddish both months, Adar 1 and Adar 2. Others say it's, one or the other. So I've always gone by the learning that if your loved one died in a year that's not a leap year, and we only have the month of Adar, then during a leap year, you say Kaddish in Adar 2, in the month that holds Purim. But if, like in my family, you have a relative who actually died in Adar 1, then you say their Kaddish during Adar 1 in years when there's 2 months. And I expect all of you to remember that. I'm going to be emailing out a test right after Shabbos, and I'll have some trick questions in there, and I'll expect 100% from every person, but no. But if you do ever have a relative or good friend who passes around this time of year and you're not sure when to observe the yurtzeit, please answer me and know that I will have a definitive answer. So there's an expression, Mi shenichnas Adar marbim b'simcha, when the month of Adar comes, our joy increases. And this year we get 2 months to have our joy increase because we have Adar 1 and Adar 2. So as we enter this month of Adar 1, may we remember that much of the joy of our lives comes from our relationships with God, with family, with friends, with strangers who can become friends, relationships that come in many shapes and forms. I would like to thank a colleague of mine, Rabbi Yael Rydberg, who pointed out some of the points that I used in this drash tonight. And are there any questions or comments? Okay, then we will turn back to our books for the prayer for healing, which is where in the back of the book.
Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. I fear I jumped in too soon because we didn't have an opportunity to share names. So maybe if we want to share names now of people that we're thinking of for that prayer. Anyone want to share some names?
Well, I will. My sister Debbie Burrill.
And Dov Ruben Ben Liba.
Wife Rita,
Thank you.
thank you.
And of course, to our prayers go out, whether we're singing that beautiful song or just silently as we think about people throughout the day, friends and family who are ill, people who live near us, who work with us. There's never an incorrect time to send out prayers of healing. We will turn now to page 148 for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה יוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרוממים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבותה אל לבביך בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We'll now turn to page 154 for the Mourner's Kaddish. And I would like to bring for some reason my thing keeps muting and unmuting. I'd like to bring into the space the names of those for whom we are saying Kaddish tonight. And we'll begin with Jean reading the Yurtzeit list.
The Yurtzeits for the month of February: Molly Bayless, mother of Susan Stromberg; Jude Berlinger, wife of Carl; Celia Blum, sister of Irene Shapiro; Daniel Bierman, husband of Irma Bierman; Mildred Blendman, mother of Nina Blendman; John Dahlquist, brother of Kay Permisone, Elaine Danovitz, sister of Norma Dances, Solomon Dennis, father of Elaine Garfinkel, Erwin Fabish, husband of Fran Fabish, Stanley Friedman, father of Steve Friedman, Abraham Gordon, father of Dorothy Pasinski, Carl Lang, father of Gerald Lang, David Lehman, son of Leonard Lehman, Marcy Lehman, mother of Leonard Lehman, Erwin Olin, husband of Nina Olin, Alexander Permisone, father of Steve Permisone, Barry Pincus, spouse of Sandra Pincus Rush, May Reese, sister of Irene Shapiro, Gertrude Rosenstein, mother of Marvin Rosenstein, Morris Siegel, father of Nina Olin, Bertha Cholinsky, mother of Sandra Krausman, and in the year of mourning, Martin and I'm having a senior moment. One moment, please. Martin Adler, husband of Harriet Adler. May their memories be for a blessing.
Does anyone have a yahrzeit that was not listed?
Bob?
Bob? Yeah. Oh, you're muted, Bob.
Frances Kessel, mother of Bob Kessel. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Marcia Goldman, mother of Ellen Goldman.
Thank you. And Barbara Goldstein Durand, my aunt.
Okay. And can I just say, I tried to catch the names and I didn't. Please send me an email with the names and I'll add them to the permanent list.
Okay, Mourner's Kaddish, page 154. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'zman kariv v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olomei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha brichu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'olma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to us, to all of Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. And may the memories of our loved ones always be for a blessing. And let us say, Amen. So, announcements will be given this evening by Bonnie Dutcher.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Arlene. Thank you, Cantorial Solis Joan, for a really marvelous, uplifting service. I really enjoyed. I enjoy coming as much as I possibly can. So today, Susan sent out an email about our second and fourth Wednesdays for our cultural events, and we are having one on February 9th, and I think that Cantor Joan is going to be hosting that with guest speaker Sheila Kaufman. And
Can I add a little bit on that, Bonnie?
I was going to ask you, and I didn't want to put you on the spot, so
I'm
yes.
ready. Put me in, coach. Put me in.
Hey.
This is the very first, the kickoff of a brand new series at Hevrat called the Talk to Me Speaker Series. So I will be bringing in speakers on a variety of topics. The only common thread is that there's nothing in common with these speakers. So they'll cover the gamut and hopefully just give you an intellectual injection for 1 hour. And so Sheila Kaufman she's written 28 cooking books. I don't know if you've ever heard her speak before. She's very generous with her time. And she has this other thing that she talks about, which is sort of the derivation of words and things that she grew up saying that she had no idea what they meant. And she sort of dove into that to talk to us about it. And if you have any cooking questions or you want to ask her, like, what's your favorite thing to cook, or what's the easiest thing I can do with like 1.5 ingredients that's Jewish, not Jewish, she knows it all. She's amazing. She actually does another lecture that I promise you I will bring her back for when we can be in person reliably, called The History of Jews and Chocolate. And it is with tasting. It comes with actual things you eat. And she shows you how to eat chocolate. It is such a great lecture as well. So I'm really thrilled that she is kicking off the Talk to Me series, and Susan will be very kindly promoting all of these things and sending them to you. And if you have any suggestions of people that you'd like to hear, I am not shy in inviting somebody, cold calling somebody that you've always wanted to hear. So please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll bring them to speak to us. Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you, Joan. So that event is going to be February 9th, 7:45 and Susan sent out the Zoom attachment, which is the same Zoom that we always use. So
and there will be an Evite too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just saved it, but thank you for that. And the next one is going to be on February 23rd. And Rabbi Arlene is involved, and I don't want to put her on the spot unless she wants to say something. If not, I will tell you a little bit about it, what I read.
I'm happy to. So this is actually a joint venture between me and Joan, and I wanted to do something that looked at music and words, maybe prayers or poetry. And so we have decided to do a session on Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, or Jerusalem of Gold, by Naomi Shemer. And we'll talk about why she wrote it and when she wrote it, and how things changed over time, and what was going on. It's weird to say historically because we all were alive when that was written. So it feels weird to say historically, but and I met a woman today who was in Israel volunteering at the time this song was written, and she told me that she was there the very first time Naomi Shemer sang this song publicly, and what the mood was at the time. So and then I thought, we could share if anyone has memories of the song, or even other Naomi Shemer music, what they meant to us. Because I think it's important for us to remember that when we talk about Israel, it doesn't always have to be a polarizing politically. It can be beautiful memories that of course are always around political and historical events, but that there's lots of different ways to think about Israel, and beautiful lyrics and beautiful music is one of them. And I will be doing that night in honor of my mom's birthday. She passed away a few years ago, but it would have been her birthday on the 24th of February. So I'm going to be dedicating that session to her.
Oh, so nice. Well, that is February 23rd, everybody, 7:45. So please I hope that you will join us for these second and fourth Wednesdays, our cultural event series. And if you like them and you can, we would appreciate any kind of contributions that you may have. We don't know when we're going to be back in person, so hopefully soon. And when we do, we would like to have a meet and greet. I talked to Steve about that today, hopefully sometime in the spring. But it'll dependent upon how things go around and the policies certainly at Ingleside. But again, I want to just thank Rabbi Arlene and Cantor Solis Joan for just a lovely service tonight. And I wish you all a very, very lovely Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Bonnie. So as we wrap up our service, we are going to turn to page 156 for Adon Olam, which we will be singing to the tune of Jerusalem of Gold.
אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לית נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמזרע. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי, ביום אקרא, בידו אפקיד רוחי, בעת אישן ועיירה, ואם רוחי גווייתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I want to wish everyone a Shabbat of peace and love and good health and happiness. And on behalf of myself and Cantoral Soloist Joan, we look forward to seeing you on the 2 Wednesdays this month, and then the first Shabbat of next month again. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and thank you for a beautiful service.
I want to personally thank Rabbi Arlene. I thought that was a beautiful sermon with so much interesting information and things to think about. And again, I know I say this all the time, but I love looking out at all your faces as you engage with us, which is so hard to do on Zoom. So thank you so much for being engaged.
Shabbat Shalom.